up, folks? Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody's had a good few days without me at the helm or in the mix. As I mentioned on last Thursday's live stream, I was out of town for a few days there visiting the what I would now call the great city of Cleveland, Ohio, which I think most people would be shocked to hear that. I myself am shocked that I'm saying it. And I have a lot of, family ties to the state of Ohio, so certainly have no, grudges against the state or anything like that. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I went into Cleveland with pretty low expectations and left very, very impressed. Not a great weekend for Cleveland sports teams, so I felt for those folks who are diehard fans. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction was super cool to be kind of in the mix of that. But yeah, overall, I would give Cleveland high praise. Very cool city, lots of fun stuff to see, lots of great restaurants to check out. Two of my favorites, Fahrenheit and Il Venetian. If you're ever in the area or if you're from Cleveland or close enough within striking distance of Cleveland, highly recommend either of those two spots. Both very, very good. Great wine, great food, good service, all that fun stuff. So anyway, I am kind of still getting caught up a little bit. We got home later than expected last night after a flight delay. I was hoping to have last night to kind of catch up a little bit more on charts and the markets and all that sort of stuff, and I just haven't had a chance to do that yet, but we'll do that together here this morning. We've also got some trade plan recaps to get to that I'll start off with shortly after we finish up our quick ES analysis. And then, of course, we will get to doing some new trade plans per your requests. So go ahead, start putting those ticker requests in the chats. I'm ready whenever you guys are. If you're here, say good morning. It's great to be back, and I'm excited to get back into the swing of things here as we go to close out the month of October. So what's up, Chris? Good to hear your, well, not good to hear you anything. You're not talking. Good to hear from you is what I was trying to say. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope everything's been copacetic while I've been away these past 4-ish days, I guess is what you would call it. So with that, let's get into it. Let's talk about what's going on here with the markets, and then we'll get into, oh, screen share. Thanks, Navy Plum. Appreciate it, buddy. I've got it going on YouTube. I was doing all the things, talking and reminiscing on my trip to Cleveland. All right, there we go. Cool. All right, so let's dig into this a little bit. Let's talk about what we're seeing here on futures, and then we'll get to those trade plan recaps pretty briefly, and then we'll get to some new trade plans, and we'll get those fleshed out and ready to go here this morning. So what are we looking at here on ES? We seem to still be struggling with this fib extension up here. We're also getting some confluence now that we see ES breaking down, and let's zoom in on this a little bit. CES breaking down below the 200 SMA here and rejecting it here pre-market. That's not a great look in my opinion. Flipping this flag bearish, not a great look in my opinion. Also brings a confluence of resistance up to where we've already seen pretty clear resistance the whole way through. We did have this one little kind of, are we going to really break it this time? And it ultimately didn't hold and got right back below, but I think still we're looking for a good confirmed break, give us a little bit of a back test, show that we've flipped this resistance to support, and then bounces higher from there again, most likely toward that 60-17 target that we've been talking about. We've got a real tight little cluster of Fibonacci extensions from multiple different sets from multiple different points in time. When you see something like that, that tends to have my attention pretty quickly. So, but we still need to get over 59.16 for that move up to 60.17 range. So again, probably about a 100-point move if and when we can get a nice good break. And again, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Here we saw sort of a whoop, whoop, right? I'd like to see something more like a whoop, whoop, whoop. And as soon as you start to see that bounce happening and moving in the right direction, or wait for, some candles to close, make sure it is bouncing and holding off that 59.16 level. That's when we're ready to whoops, ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. Don't want to delete all my drawings. Let's just do this the old school way. There we go. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on that move over 59.16. and a potential push higher for another 100 points up to 60.17. To the downside, again, we still kind of talking about this overall range, 58.44.50 is going to be a key level to watch as support. We do have the 333 SMA coming up here on the hourly, getting ready to provide some additional support to that level. So, again, we could sort of play in this range right here between 59.16 and 58.44. I think we've said, generally speaking, if you're getting down near 58.44 for the time being, that's a good spot to start buying some dips. And as you're getting up toward 59.16, a good spot to start selling some tops or taking some short positions, getting some hedges into place, whatever tickles your fancy, until we break out of that range. Once we break out, obviously now we're looking for more of a directional play, looking for some back tests for entries, and looking to ride that momentum in whichever direction the market decides to go. So that's our quick ES analysis. Quick reminder here, streams automatically. Yep, that's true. If you ever need to rewatch, don't forget to come back to the Xtrades YouTube channel. These do automatically repost. I think there's a little bit of a delay while YouTube processes and does everything it needs to do. But yeah, great point, Chris. These are available for replay. But of course, the replays are never going to be as good as the real deal, the live interaction, because you get to ask questions, you get to put in your ticker requests, and also you will be a lot more prepared for the trading day and probably already in some of these trades while somebody who decides to, let's say, take their lunch break to go watch this live stream and see, what we talked about and what we discussed. Well, they're probably going to be a little bit behind the curve there. Wop wop chart sound effects. What chart sound? Do I have chart sound effects? I'm not even aware of this. All right, so let's get that off there. I don't know how that go because I saw that drawing tool on there. All right, so let's get to our trade plan recaps. What's up, Kronos? Good morning, and let's start talking about what we've got going on here with AMD. AMD, we were looking for a short below. We'll put this on at 15 minutes, so it's a little bit more of a visual of what we would look at and what we'd be paying attention to in a real-time trade scenario, right? So AMD, after we did our trade plan here Thursday morning pre-market, gives us the drop below, back test, rejects, got pretty close to PT1, not quite, but ultimately did give us our, let me hide this real quick. Ultimately did give us another back test and pulled back down to PT1, so multiple entry opportunities there. We did ultimately get to PT1. We got a little bit below it, but not quite to PT2. Saw a rejection there off the 200 SMA that pushed us back down into that key buying pressure of Neptune. That's kind of a really picture perfect example of how this indicator system works, right? You've got a resistance indicator overhead, a key buying pressure indicator below. I expect to see those kind of clean rejections, or as clean as possible. They're not always that clean. A lot of times you see that sort of this thing, but I really like to see, I should say, these very clean rejections and very clean bounces off of those indicator components. But ultimately pulled back up to our put entry level there at 158.35. Looks like it's trending back down to the downside, also below the 333 SMA. Seems to be having some real struggles with that and rejecting that some, along with the 200 SMA. Does have a little bit of a confluence, not a little bit, it's a pretty good confluence, I should say. 156, which is our PT1 weekly support, Neptune key buying pressure there. Is when you're drawing the lines upwards. Oh, okay. Well, maybe there's a chart sound effect on here that I'm just not even hearing. Although I do have my speakers muted, so nothing like random pops off and gets, disrupts the conversation or the YouTube stream. So yeah, so you're probably hearing stuff that I can't even hear. But we're looking for, I think now, a break below 155.97 that could bring more downside and at least a shot at this recent low, PM low, and low of the day there around 154.28. I'd use the 333 as my stop loss average down, this red SMA right here, and obviously that's going to be a dynamic indicator. So if you don't have Neptune, at the very least, get a couple of SMA indicators on your chart. If you're a paying Xtrades member, I forget about this all the time, I do offer my ultimate moving averages indicator for free for anybody who's an Xtrades member. That'll let you map out pretty much every type of moving average under the sun that you could think of, or at least many of the ones that were kind of predominant. When did I build that? A couple of years ago. I should probably go back and look at it, because I know I'm already working with some other things as far as volatility adjusted moving averages and stuff like that. So maybe I'll go back and add some of that to that. But again, if you're an Xtrades member, paying member of our community, just reach out to somebody on the team, ask them to put you in touch with me, and we'll get you set up with the ultimate moving averages indicator. It's a great little tool and it's free. So if you're already paying for Xtrades, I'm happy to hook you up with that. But if not any of the above, get some kind of a moving average indicator, something that lets you plot a few SMAs, EMAs, whatever the case might be. In this case, I highly recommend the 200 333 SMA combo, and the 333 SMA again would be your kind of moving stop loss average down on a potential entry below 155.97. Looking for this low a day test from yesterday, and potentially on down to PT2. I'm probably doing that too. What? Didn't mean to do that. Whoops. Yeah, I forget that I've got a microphone running sometimes. All right, so so that's AMD. Again, we've played out to the downside, had a couple of entry opportunities. PT1's hit multiple times, and now we're looking for another potential breakdown below PT1 for more downside. If it reclaims 158.35, that would also be a pretty bullish look, so you could look for an earlier entry there. Also, hesitate to call it a flag. It looks a little flaggy, but a little rough looking for a flag. Also could be a potential head and shoulders setting up with a neckline down here. So I don't want to get too into what potential chart patterns there are. I would just say below 155.97 looks good to take shorts. Over 158.35 looks good to go long again on AMD. Netflix, this was an unknown reviews pick. Gave us a hint, or tried to maybe give us a hint that we'd be looking for some potential downside on their earnings report. Initially, it did push down, got to PT2 plus, but ultimately responded to the upside and has broken out to, I think, what are new all-time highs, essentially. Yeah. So Netflix is looking super, super strong right now. Again, those are always tough trades to try to figure out when we're talking about earnings report trades. I'm not sure what unknown reviews bias or lean was going into this, but hopefully if you traded it, my friend, you did well. Netflix ultimately, again, broke out to the upside, and I clearly have some new levels I need to build and some work to do on Netflix before we do any more plans on it. Last but not least, from last Thursday, Celsius. This one we did Thursday morning, gave us the breakdown, ran straight to PT1 and then some. Gave us a back test of this kind of sell pressure range up here around 33.56 and 34.62, the stop loss average down. Also looked like a pretty good little back test rejection confluence there. It wound up pushing higher ultimately, but certainly a spot that, if I'd been sitting in front of a computer and watching Celsius, I'd be up for taking that as a short entry. There with that 200 SMA just below that key, what was support, now resistance there at 33.56. And the momentum moving to the downside with the 200 below the 333. They're both angled to the downside. Obviously not the ideal entry, but it would have played out. Never got stopped out if you waited till the following day. Pushed a little bit lower. I might need to look at my Celsius levels because that does look like a really interesting support and resistance level there. I'm going to go ahead and just flag it so I come back and look at that again at some point next time I've got the Celsius chart up. And seems to be trying to hold that little range of support here pre-market. Also has some confluence of resistance overhead. So right now Celsius looking very much like a good short trade still, or momentum still going to the downside. It is building some higher lows though, so a little bit of a mixed outlook near term for Celsius. But overall trade plan wise, things played out nicely to the downside. Below 31.95, I would expect that we would see probably PT2, but again, we got this little dip and pick up there, but that, again, I haven't looked at this through enough time frames to try to figure that out. That could be a moving average that it bounced off of one time on a different time frame or something like that. So sometimes where these things bounce and reject, as far as the precise bounces and rejections, isn't always at a support and resistance. It could be off of some kind of an indicator or something to that effect. So make sure that you're always, I guess my point being, make sure that you're always kind of going through the process and confirming and developing very strong support and resistance levels, and not just kind of finding the most recent bounce or rejection, because those could just be one-offs, and that's not quite enough for me to say, okay, that's something I want to put some money behind. All right, so let's get to some new trade plan requests. Chris in here bright and early. He was ready to go. He was waiting for me to come back from vacation, and he's got cores in the mix. So let's take a look at cores. I feel like you've asked about cores in the past, and honestly, I think it's one that I think I've only started looking at recently on some of your requests. Or am I mixing this up with something else? I think I am mixing it up with something else, actually. I don't see any drawings on this chart at all. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking about something else. Yeah, I kind of wonder if the bottom's in on Celsius either, man. So yeah, I think you're right to be waiting. Um, Sorry, I'm just taking a quick look at this. Oh yeah, that hourly chart's pretty strong bearish lean on it after that breakdown, rejecting into those higher selling pressure zones, or out of those higher pressure selling zones, I should say. Um, yeah, I think it gets interesting over 34.62 potentially to try to push for more. At the very least, opens up a little window of opportunity. Could also be one there above 33.56, depending on how this plays out over the next few days. But is making higher lows. I would certainly keep a trend like this on watch. That looks pretty solid to me. So watch that. If it breaks down below that, I think it's going to play out for more downside. If that looks like it continues to hold, which it's testing pre-market, this could be the base that it's trying to build and get some momentum going back in the upward direction. All right, so let's take a look at cores, core scientific, tech services, data processing. I swear we've looked at this one before, Chris, but maybe it was just a quick glance. Maybe I didn't sit there and do full levels and trade plans and all that, but it could also just be confusing it with another ticker. We look at a lot from week to week. This is an interesting level. It's very thin as far as the amount of support and resistance we've got there, but it's pretty interesting. I want to keep an eye on it as a higher time frame level. This I'm not so sure about, though. You do like to pick some different names, but you also find these, find some really good ones that are, in this kind of small cap, mid cap range. So yeah, I like it. It's a different approach, which is a good thing, I think. All right, these I'm skeptical about. This I am very skeptical about. Yellow for caution on that one for now. And let's see how this thing does. Pretty decent volume. Let's see how it trades during the extended hour sessions. Yeah, it looks pretty decently structured. I don't see anything that's kind of way off on its own planet or anything. So let's use the 24-hour chart for our daily levels. Let's see if we can't nail these down. Yeah, this is a daily level. That's what I was kind of expecting to see there. Yeah, I was kind of expecting that to see that here, and I'm confirming we've got two good daily levels there at 834, 914. Let's see what else is new that we couldn't see before. This is an interesting level. I like it on the daily. BTC mining data center. Purpose-built facility. Yeah, digital asset. Okay, so they're like another crypto miner headquartered in Delaware. Interesting. Yeah, they're not one that I would, if you told me to start rattling off names of crypto miners, I would have never pulled this one out of my hat. So I like it, right? That sometimes that means that's where you can get a more true moves and price action because, sorry, I want to hide these indicators real quick. There's not as much option activity on them, which that can sometimes hurt liquidity if it's not like one of the more popular names. But overall, I feel like sometimes those like Marathon and Riot and those, I feel like those ones, retail traders really gravitate toward those when they're trying to play those crypto miner opportunities. And I think that, whales use that to their advantage, especially in the world of options. This is an interesting level right here, but not anything confirmed yet. We may not be able to confirm anything on that. It does also have a pretty nice, at least it looks like it does. Maybe the wrong point of origin there. Or it's just not a very good, it looked like it was on a nice uptrend, but it is, it could be, I mean, technically, yeah, it could be right there. I'd like to catch that dip a little cleaner, but I think by doing that, I'm not looking for the right trend line. Skewing it. I think if we brought it up to this, it might even be, yeah, it looks like that trend line's just starting to slip. I think that's really where it was, and Coors is fighting to hold it, essentially, is what this looks like to me. All right, let's get to some hourly time frames. I think we're pretty good on daily and weekly as far as anything that's going to be in a range that we'll be seeing anytime in the near future. Still nothing confirmed here. Our extended trading hours all-time high sits up around here. Keep that on watch. Yeah, I think there's a 4-hour level here. And this, again, still not confirmed, that 1361. All right, let's give me some more real estate. Yeah, we got something right there. That'll be a factor. It was quick, but I think there's support and resistance there. Sorry, excuse me. Get my words out. Yeah, same thing there. All right, let's see what that puts us from an indicator standpoint. Let's check the hourly. The other thing that we're going to need pretty clearly is going to be some trend-based fib extensions. We'll take those off of that bounce there, up to that high there. How about that? Lines up beautifully. 1, 2, 3 confluences. This does need to get, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Shoot. Sorry about that. Grab it, do it this way. Needs to come up just a little bit, right? Or down just a little bit. Yeah, I think that's good. Which means this, well, this was also an iffy level I wasn't sure about. So there's something in that little range right there I would be willing to bet. So let's get these on. Okay, so what are we looking at for on Core Scientific? Looking at this hourly chart, just trying to figure out if we've got, there is an opportunity here to get in around this 1307 level. I know we're testing it already here pre-market. But I think there's an opportunity here. It should take us up pretty close to 1360. Over that, I'd expect a test of this high at 1409, and then a lot of times on these fib extensions, I like to bypass the 50% fib extension and go for that 61.8. I'm going to take a shot at it with this plan at least and say that that's what we're going to go for. If we can break over 1409, that'll be our next kind of true top on an all-time high. Stop loss average down right here. Downside. Let's see, where does that really get interesting? So I think if we've got a downside plan in the works or possible, you know, I take that back. We can go a little sooner. Let's go at 1259 short. I think that gives us what I was looking at as a potential entry. I think that gives us a price target, actually. I didn't even notice that one really long wick right there, picking up near this level. But I think it's right about here. Pretty close to where that bounce came from right there. So I like that as a PT1, PT2. At that point, we're broken down below this uptrend. Yeah, I'd have it here at 1165-ish. Pull that up a little bit. 1167. Downside over cheer. Yeah, right around that 1129 level. Stop loss average down is going to cross over a little bit with the upside stop loss. All right, I think we got some good plans here. Let's put the finishing touches on, and then let's talk through these real quick, because I know it will look a little bit different than my typical trade plan, with there being, which, you know, I guess typical is the wrong word for that. We don't always see overlap of the stop loss average down levels, but I think gives both sides the appropriate amount of room to let the plans work out. All right, so this is what we're looking for on Core Scientific. Oops, let's copy the link because that's better for YouTube. What's up, Strife? Good morning to you. So here's our Cores live stream plan. Sorry if I got a little bit into the weeds there, but first day back from a long weekend and a late arrival home last night. Oops, let's get everyone spelled correctly. All right, so what are we looking for here on Core Scientific? We are looking for a break above 1307. I think that gives us an opportunity to make a move up to 1360. Over 1360, we're looking for a test of current extended hours all-time high there at 1409, and then a potential stretch for the 0.61 or the 0.618 fib, 61.8% fib. At 1481 with a stop loss average down at 1276. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 1259. That should give us targets at 1207, 1167, and 1129 with a stop loss average down at 1292. Those are your Core Scientific trade plans. Thank you for the request, Chris. A good and interesting looking ticker as always, my friend. Much appreciated. All right, so let's get to the next trade plan request. Who was it? Ryan Brown in here with NIO and QQQ. NIO, NEO, God, I flip-flop on that more than a politician. Okay. Wow, this one's actually had a pretty big pullback after all the China stimmy run up. We have a trade plan on it back here that just absolutely crushed. I think that Ryan wants me to repeat greatness, I think, on this trade plan. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. It's like, man, that last one hit so good. I wanna see if he can do it again. Chances are we probably can. All right, let's get a feel for this thing real quick though. Trend lines, not gonna need that. Probably some old supply demand zones that aren't even a factor anymore. Just get this chart cleaned up real fast. All right. So, Neo. Absolutely right. Good, man. Well, I'm glad it worked out beautifully before. And hopefully we will put together another banger here on Neo. When is it going to be time to go, Neo? That's the question. Just want to take a look at this on a couple of time frames, get my bearings real quick. Actually, this is what I really want to look at. That's a pretty clear rejection point right there. That gap's filled to the upside previously. I'm going to put these down in a slightly different color than usual because I might go back and just totally change all these, but I want to take a look at something. Fill up to here essentially. 581. This level I think is a little bit lower, up to 606. So I could be a little off with that 611 level. Happy to say that there is a gap to fill to the upside still. The one thing I would say about this, actually two gaps. That one still hasn't filled either. One thing I'd say about this, though, again, remember, these Chinese tickers trade heavily outside of the U.S. extended trading hours. So lots of gaps up, gaps down, gaps everywhere. They don't necessarily gravitate, I would say, as quickly as like a regular, like a gap on a US ticker would. And that's very anecdotal. That is by no means a rule or any kind of known habit of gaps on Chinese names based on any real data. That is, again, purely just my experience from watching these things move for however many years now. So the question becomes, where do we want to really take a crack at this? That's an interesting confluence up there. All right, I think what we want to do, we're going to take a shot at this over 549. I think there's also potentially a buy the dip opportunity here, clearly. Double bottom off of 504. So we'll throw that, or we'll talk about that real quick. I think over 549 gives us a shot at 581 and then 611. Over 611, tested getting into that gap once. This is a really interesting level, actually. I would use it as a PT3. That being said, the 645 level. That being said, if you can establish or hold like a free runner or two, I would hold and take a shot at 683 for that gap fill up to there. Stop loss average down for this upside trade plan. The feeling is going to be right around 526. Hang on, turn these off real quick. Might be able to give it a little bit more room. Probably not much. No, I think it is. Yeah, right around 5. You know what? Let's give it the extra room. I'm kind of splitting hairs a little bit between where it could be. I think that leaves us right at about a 1-to-1, getting to that first price target. Especially if you play this with shares, definitely you could give it down to 518. Downside, I think, let's take a look at, yeah, we're going to want to break below this weekly level to the downside. Below 488. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just really debating with myself where this first target needs to be. I'm going to go with 454. I think that looks pretty solid. I think we can share a stop loss with the upside. Trade plan. I think that would make sense. Just interesting that we didn't quite get the reaction I would have expected us to get off that level on this move to the upside. There was something just a little bit higher where we did see a quick rejection, flip, and bounce, but it was very fast. But it's there. 426, I would say, next downside target. Third and final downside target, I think 397. Going back to the buy the dip opportunity, I think that there's also a chance to just go ahead and buy the dip as long as we're still holding over 504 going into the open. Use your stop loss average down at 488. Because we break down to that downside of the trade plans, I think that that's going to be problematic for holding any kind of a bullish position. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, nice confluence here on the hourly, breaking over that flag with Neptune. So, and a nice confluence up there, potential confluence coming into place here at PT1 and PT2 for the upside. So yeah, lots to like about this, both from a support and resistance and from a indicator standpoint as far as where we've got our levels set. We are right at about a 1-to-1 as I anticipated there, getting the first price target, so that's okay. Short position right here. Again, we do have a buy the dip opportunity off of this 504 level, so keep that in mind. Kind of marking it so it sticks out there. But overall, we're looking for a break down below 488 with our stop shared with the upside. So this is what our NEO trade plans look like. I think that should be a nice perspective to have on the chart when I share this link. So here is your NEO live stream plans. Let's do one more after this, and then I think we'll be good to go. Last but not least, why is that like that? Yeah, there we go. Lead options chat. All right, so let's talk about these plans real quick for NEO. We're looking for a break above 549. If we take that entry, we're looking for targets at 581, 611, and 645 with a stop loss average down at 518. There's also an opportunity to buy the dip off of 504 if you do that, or as long as 504 is holding. If you do that, I would recommend using 549 as your first price target and 488 as your stop loss average down for that buy the dip setup. For the downside trade plan, we're looking for a break below 488. That should give targets at 454, 426, and 397 with a shared stop loss average down with the upside trade plan there at 518. Those are your NEO trade plans. Ryan, go forth, conquer, print a bunch more money off this thing like we did last time, right? All right, let's see if we've got one more ticker request from anybody either in Discord or in the YouTube side of life. Let's see. I saw one more. Unknown reviews. That's right. SPY or VKTX. What is VKTX? Have you asked me about this one before? Sounds familiar. Oh, yeah, Viking Therapeutics. I know I've at least heard of or looked at this before. Earnings coming up tomorrow after hours. So you got a couple of days of earnings catalyst in the not too distant future. Yeah, I thought we had, maybe it was a long time ago or on a different layout. I thought we had done at least some levels or something on Viking. But I remember, yeah, they had that big move when they announced it. Didn't they, are they getting into like the Ozempic, right? The weight loss injection game, and that is what's got them just absolutely exploding right now. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Really, really, really nice hold on this weekly bull flag there off Neptune. But let's hide our indicators for a second. Let's take a look at these levels and nothing else but the levels. So help me God. The levels, the whole levels, and nothing but the levels. So help me God. It's going to be my new. I will trade the level. That's what I'm going to do from now on. when I have a new mentee, I'm going to make them take like they're swearing in for uh, putting themselves under oath in court, I guess is the right word to say that. Right way to say that. This is a maybe level. It's not a weekly, not confirmed yet. Do you swear to trade by the levels, the whole levels, and nothing but the levels? So help you, JTW. Oh God, that would be so bad. I'm not gonna do it. That sounds awful. All right. I think that's gonna wind up being a daily level. We'll see if I'm. Now, you know what? If we make just a small adjustment to it, this can, and we do need to kind of use these candles as much as we can because there's not a lot to work with up in this range. Yeah, I think there's something sitting right there too. Gonna be a level there potentially, I believe, but we'll see. TBD. All right. Gonna have to expedite this one because we are getting pretty close to market open. It's not quite a daily level. It's almost like there's like a little range in here that should be a level. So let's fast forward this process real quick. All right, it's debating moving that level a little bit. Okay, so upside trade plan. it does really struggle below that level. I think we've got a good, it's actually a nice little risk reward setup the way that that maps out. Downside, I think we're gonna have to give this some room before we try to short this thing. That's for sure. If we do short it there, I think we've got a shot right here. Or good stop loss average down right there, I should say. First target. Yeah, right about here off this 56.41. Yeah, next target, or maybe I have this daily level a little bit low. That's also possible. I think I'm splitting hairs to add another level there. 52.61. Then this old gap level, we did bounce off of it a couple of times. We could maybe stretch a little bit lower, but let's not be greedy. Let's go ahead and finish out this plan at 50.02. Okay, so here's what our Viking Therapeutics trade plans look like. And then I need to break free and go work on the daily SPY plan. So, oops, actually not copy image, copy link. I need to remember that. Get back in the habit. Okay, so here are the VKTX Viking Therapeutics trade plans. I should say live stream plans. There we go. All right. There and in the elite options. Okay, so what are we looking for here on Viking Therapeutics? We're looking for a break over 68.43. That should give us targets at 73.45, 77.92, and 82.70 with a stop loss average down at 65.65. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 60.58. That should give us targets at 56.41, 52.61, and 50.02 with the stop loss average down at 63.67. Those are your Viking Therapeutics trade plans. All right, with that, folks, it's great to be back. I'm really excited to get up to speed and get some trades out for you guys and some more plans out for you guys. Make sure that you're setting alerts on your charts. I am still working on trying to get this webhook to work. I think we figured out what the issue is or who the bad actor was. And we've dealt with that problem. So hopefully we'll be able to start rolling those out again soon in the Elite Options chat. But until then, as we always say here on the FOMO live streams, plan your trades, trade your plans. Go out there, get some green, secure the bag. I will see you guys in the chats. Thank you so much for spending your morning with me this morning. I will see you all back here Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, y'all take care. Talk to you soon. Have a great day.